Wow. My goodness. Oh, wait. Let me make sure I'm live on Rockfin. Today is not my day, people. It's just not the day. Oh my goodness. We are live and we are here. So good to see everyone here in the chat today. Good afternoon. Welcome to the JB Show on Revolutionary Blackout Network. I just like to give a warm welcome to every single one of you and remind you that the JB Show streams every Sunday on time at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can catch me on the RBN Roundtable on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I also host my own channel called the JB Font Channel during the week on Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you guys would like to, you can also subscribe and watch me there. Please make sure to click the thumbs up and please make sure to not forget to subscribe and click the bell icon because you know the YouTube algorithm doesn't like us. Today, I have joining me one of the homies, one of the comrades, one of our pretty much ride or die that I actually have immense amount of respect for and has been in the background assisting us in various different ways. And I just like to give a warm and hearty welcome to my friend Quaker socialist, also known as Quaker analyst in some space, anarchist in some spaces. It's so good to see you, my friend.
Hello. It's so good to be here.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Just to say hello to everybody in the chat, and I do apologize for my tardiness. I was experiencing some technical difficulties. Why there were technical difficulties, I have no idea. I almost tried to reset my computer, and then it was like, oh, well, um, you're gonna not only have to restart, but you're also gonna have to update too. And it's forcing me to update. I'm like, no, 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 no. We don't want to do that. So it's just this morning. Also, by the way, just to let you guys know, because of a lot of stuff that's been going on, this is going to be kind of an abbreviated JB show, just to let you guys know. So if things don't go as long as you guys typically anticipate, I do apologize, but because of a lot of hectic things that are going on, I'm making it somewhat abbreviated. Also, one more thing. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of the parents out there who have given birth to kids. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Parents' Day, basically, to all of you. Happy Mother's Day, Quaker, to you as well, because it is one of the most hardest jobs in the world. Actually, it's probably the hardest job in the world. And so I just wanted to express my heartfelt appreciation to all of you for what you do. And happy Mother's Day to my sisters, to my mother, to my grandmother. Uh, Happy Mother's Day to all of you who have done such hard work. And, a lot of times it's thankless, sometimes. And I know that it's tough. So I just wanted to give that to you. At least if I can say that,
You're the best. You're doing the original purpose of Mother's Day, which was it's just intended to appreciate the mother. That
Yeah.
was the intention.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So I just want to say hello to everybody who's in the chat really quick. Hello to everybody that's in the chat. Human love, solidarity. It's good to see you. As let me see, David Garvin. So good to see you in the chat as well. Kenyon Perry, Emoji. So good to see you. Our food should be going in our yards and neighborhoods, not stored in communal and private barns. Yep, I agree. Let me see. Alex is in the chat today, with us today. Good to see you, Alex. Let me see. Sweary Fairy is in and accounted for. All right. Check out Polyface Farms in Virginia. They use permaculture principles to integrate animals and crops throughout the same fields in a system that builds healthy soil very rapidly. Ooh, Polyface Farms in Virginia. Are they also a co-op? If so, then that's even better. Just let me know in the chat what they do is exactly. Um, Yeah, I'm going to be kind of quick on this because I really want to get to this because this is also very important. Plus, I'm a little bit late. Good to see you, Tay. Good to see you, Swery. Sorry, Eric Gray. Hey, Swery Ferry, Terry Connolly, Angela Sangster, Defunding Empire, Sebastian. So good to see you. All right. Um. So got it. Okay. So so um, food shortages. Um, a lot of people have been talking about a lot of different food shortages that have been happening. And Quaker, you sent me basically um oh my god, what's it called? An Excel spreadsheet full of the articles that of food shortages that happened basically within the last 6 months.
2 years,
Um,
2 years.
oh, in the last 2 years. Okay.
Yep.
Um, are some of these COVID related? You know, I mean, I know that during COVID there was some. Uh, I know there was a dairy farm that was dumping milk. I know that there were a lot of different um, livestock producers that were euthanizing their livestock, euthanizing, on poultry farms, their chickens at the time because they needed to make profit and they wouldn't make any profit. But this is different. Um, and I was reading through some of these articles. Um, Let me make sure I pull this article up if it'll allow me. Hmm, I don't know why it's not allowing me for some reason. Um,
Do you want me to give a rundown of the
hang
spreadsheet?
Yeah, I'm just trying to click on the link and to oh wait. Okay, that works. I didn't have it all the way scrolled over. Okay. But if you want to give a rundown, that's fine. But let me share my screen really quick while you're doing that.
So in late April, on April 23rd, I shared a tweet that tagged a few of the voices that I really respect and want to check in with when something's
Oh, you
happening in
know
the
what? Let
world.
me do that. Mhm. Yeah, uh let me pull that up. Okay, I'm going to share that first
Okay.
because that's actually important to the context of what you're saying. All right, JB, get it together. All right. Okay, so here's your tweet. This was actually a quote tweet from Paul Sorrentino 3,
Yep.
uh,
Comrade,
gay
a very
unemployed.
good guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Um, he has his tag as gay unemployed waiter. And he said, how many processing plants have been destroyed in the last 6 weeks? Um, and then you tag, those of us, at, Kid and Brown, the Bank Sisters, those of us who are part of RBN, Black Power Media, um,
Jackie
Afeni,
Lookman. Yep.
yeah, Lukeman, yeah. So you have tagged us, and then you showed us this spreadsheet of all these different articles of all these um, different uh, destructions of food processing plants, you know, which is fairly recent, which is, causes a pause for concern.
So I took this tweet, which was a picture, and I didn't want
Hmm.
to share to my comrades anything that was not verifiable. So from this tweet that we're looking at, this is a picture from the original tweet that I shared,
Hmm.
and then also there's the picture of the story. So we had these headlines, and they are going back for the last uh, till January 2021, and they need to be verified. And I wanted to just kind of save a little bit of time, so I made a Google spreadsheet that had all of these sites that have some type of disaster, and then also cross-reference it with the articles, the the states that it occurred in, the name of the plant that they occurred in, just to see if there was any patterns that for any of us on the outside want to try to see. And just overall, and then since then there's been two additional plants destroyed, but 18 states have been involved. There are several multiple states, so um, Illinois and Texas and Oregon have they have two in each state. So, most of them are in a wide range of states. There are mostly food, but some are like a fertilizer plant. One is a just labeled as organic and healthy food, and then there are also like a feed. So it's related to the food chain, but not directly the plant itself, or directed to human food. So Tyson owned feed ingredients as well as Cargill Nutrina feed mill. So these two are related to feed, and then one was fertilizer. Otherwise, the rest is direct human food. Although one is a soybean, so again, soybean could be a pre-human food a plant. So that's for that. And then we know that over 12 of them have been disabled. So they're out of action. For example,
Hmm.
a Nestle plant that has fast food is disabled. Taylor Farms and Salinas has been destroyed. Two major potato plants in Washington um, were destroyed, and there already is a global shortage of potato. There's also in a YouTube show that was discussing this, they also were showing a report on Fox that mentioned onions as well. So we're talking a wide range of impact,
Hmm.
and these are 4 alarm, 3 alarm, 5 alarm fires. So there's a lot of personnel that are involved. So even if these are, you know, it's just a food plant, no food is in danger. It's like, well, personnel are in danger, our equipment are in danger, people's
Hmm.
lives are disrupted at the very least. Jobs are
Yeah,
impacted.
yeah, and there's also an article that I want to share that really concerns me about the workers. I'll get into that in a second, but um, this I don't know. Is it coincidence or not? I don't know, but this is kind of interesting. Okay, so this is one from the Sun. It says explosion chaos, food processing plant fire, plane crash today in Georgia sees chaos unfold at a General Mills factory in Covington. It talks about the FAA reported that an identified small plane within a mile of the runway of the Covington Municipal Airport, excuse me. Six tractor trailers were damaged as a result of the crash. Local officials in a press conference that there were no survivors of the crash. However, it remains unclear how many victims there are. the what in the hell? Sorry, that wasn't supposed to happen. Hang on. These ads that they pop up in front of me. I'm sorry. It says let's see, there's unclear how many victims there were, and that the NTSB is currently investigating the results of the crash. Now, I just want to juxtapose this about a plane crash with another article with another food processing plant that also had a plane crash. Uh, is it coincidence? Possibly, but this one's
Well,
out
the
of
one was
the New
a
York Post.
one is an unidentified plane that they have that obviously they may know locally, but they're not reporting. The second one was a
Yeah,
UPS.
yeah. This says family wants airport shut down after pilot crashes into potato plant. This one says a 30-year-old pilot was killed after she crashed into a potato processing plant in Idaho, and her mourning family wants the airport shut down, according to reports. Uh, Brittany Infanger was flying UPS packages from Salt Lake City, Utah to Burley, Idaho, when she crashed into the Gem State processing plant after landing around 8:30. And so it's kind of I eh,
Well,
I
small
don't want to.
small airports have always had problems. I'm from Minnesota originally, so I recall, my dad who, as a social worker, had to drive all over the state, and so I do recall growing up with, airport crashes. A classmate of mine lost her entire family to a small plane crash. So
Mhm.
I think it's all of these things happen. It's the number of them happening all
Yeah.
in the span of time, and that it's not, that the news story right now is more, if you want to look it up, it's all about like the debunking of a conspiracy as
Mhm.
opposed to just kind of looking at the information. I think itself. I know I called my local fire department to ask them because I used to work for the city, and
Mhm.
just wanted to ask what would be their result, and they're like, oh, never heard of it, didn't know. um huh, these things
That's weird.
happen, and it's like, all right, if that's your and I bugged them enough just to be like, well, do you want to at least see the spreadsheet? It's pretty detailed. I just thought that, but we're, I would say like municipal governments are geared to be responsive, not proactive in almost everything. If you're a proactive person, you've probably been purged. So I don't think that they're kind of trying to keep people who are going, wow, I'm seeing a pattern. You know, I remember looking at my local city for my public health degree. We had to look at a city. I chose mine, and
Mhm.
their disaster preparedness information was spotty, missing. So all of these things are concerning, even if there isn't a conspiracy, because I would challenge whether or not local governments are prepared for large scale emergencies, for evacuating large numbers of people. What is their plan? Is that plan even visible? So you can look at this from a variety of instances, even outside of the issue of this being food. But now you're getting into our food, and it's like, well, what's Homeland Security talking about? Have they talked about it? Is there a briefing on this?
The funny thing about this is that wouldn't food be a matter of national security?
Right.
And if these things are happening and is becoming quite frequent, um, it's definitely a pause for concern that I think we should be uh, talking about. Um, so yeah, I feel like the coincidences are becoming a little too apparent, as from what I can tell. So
Yeah, I'm
um,
looking at, like, past news. looking up the term Homeland Security food processing plant. They're worried about Ukraine. Um, so our U.S. Homeland Security is worrying about, the Ukrainians. Uh, they did talk about like agro terrorism in the United States overall. Um, there's another article saying U.S. article shines in the fight against the pandemic, um, and border issues. That there, so there. It seems more to be the news are focusing on the standard policy issues versus problem solving, reporting what's happening, just tracking what's the issues.
Yeah. Um, I was just looking at something that I'm not sure if it's directly related, but there was also a huge amount of trucks that were halted at the border, especially towards Texas, because uh, and some of these trucks carrying, food from Mexico are being stopped and not allowed to enter the country. So that's something that kind of gives me pause as well. And um, I'm just looking at one where it talks about importing broccoli from Mexico. And so I don't know, like, hmm, because I'm trying to purse my words carefully because some people may say, well, you're just grasping at straws or you're reaching or something like that. And it's like, this is a little bit more concerning than that because you literally have our food supply being cut down. Um, and of course, not only that, but thinking about the fuel prices that have risen, which also exacerbates the problem because everybody needs energy in order to move to get the goods and services they need to get to different from one place to another. So that also is increasing the amount of food prices that we have within the country as well. So you have that on top of a lot of plants being shut down. And then on top of that, there was an article here. Um, Let me see. Let me get this up here. This one is from. It talks about U.S. egg factory. It says U.S. egg factory roasts alive 5.3 million chickens in avian flu, called basically euthanized or kill. Then fires almost every worker.
Yep.
And so apparently the bird flu is back.
Yes.
Apparently,
Yes.
convenient timing. Um, I'm not saying anything particular. I'm just saying it's interesting timing for us to have a bird flu to just pop up right when in the middle of a pandemic
Well, I would
for
say, like,
see the
even if you don't wanna, we can just look at it straight without going into, like, is anybody, deliberately doing it? It's like, well, I work in the public health, community, and, we're almost dead inside. We're exhausted. So how are we supposed to be able to do just, like, keeping our patients safe, keeping our system, basically functioning? And then but also
right,
on top of it, being prepared to handle these additional threats that take you, those are not your, unless they create that as part of your job, they're outside of your purview. So you really need to be doing the things you need to do, which is I'm supposed to keep, like, if you're in charge of the labs, you're supposed to make sure that the refrigerators are freezing the samples. Like, they've got a lot of things to be doing. There's I know in my field, which has been breast cancer research, we have been hemorrhaging staff. So how do we make sure that, like, we even have coverage, let alone be able to handle some of these more serious things? And so a
Yeah.
serious thing is um you know resurgences of additional types of diseases that we normally can handle. But
Hmm.
H1N1 was, that required a lot of ramping up. We had, calm seas, and it required a lot of effort. So it's how do
Yeah.
we, when we don't have enough staff, don't have enough, um, inside energy to be able to be, ramping up, gearing for all of these things. Plus, we don't have a system that is saying, be prepared, look for issues, report them all properly, track them. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a strain on the system, so much so to the point where uh, you have many people in the medical field that are just up and leaving. I mean, all these things are interconnected, you know. And one of the things that I have been thinking about is you have a lot of people, especially on those of us on the left, that have been talking about. Let me hide this just for a second. Um, they've been talking about us, you know, producing our own food, wherever we can, in order to kind of mitigate this effect on ourselves and our close neighbors. I know from Poplar's Voice Network, you have Logan Grindle, who does some planting in his own apartment. Um, you know, but one of the things I think that we need to stress is that if you can prepare for things like this, then go ahead. If you can, because uh, Biden talked about food shortages, and I'm just like, wait a minute, like, why would we have food shortages in the United States? I mean, I could understand from a pandemic uh, perspective, but outside of that, it's like, why else would we have any food shortages outside of that? Because it doesn't seem like, maybe just because I'm not an expert in this area, but it doesn't feel like we should be having a food shortage in this area, you know, unless climate change has something heavily to do with it, which also is a major factor. So,
well,
um,
I'm not. We don't know, right? We don't know anything, and there's concerns of whether or not we are able to, you know, figure out what's happening, right? Um,
mhm,
but there are a lot of, you know, stressed workers.
mhm,
There are people who, there's a lot of different strategies that happen uh, in the
mhm,
middle of worker resistance to oppression, and one of them is sabotage. So is that also happening? We don't know.
yeah,
There's worker slowdowns, there's, worker absences, there's worker sabotage. All of these things are strategies to, to cause issues. So
mhm,
we need to
yeah,
be aware that there are so many different things that could be happening in any one of these situations. Any of these plants could be just, insurance
yeah,
scams. We don't know. um,
yeah,
but
yeah,
but overall, our food needs to be protected. It needs, and we need to be protecting the resources that go into, um, are these, do we even have adequate regulations to make sure that buildings are being maintained properly? When I talked to the fire department here about this, they were saying there are a lot of flammable things within a plant, so any of these things could, go up uh, in flames. And it's like, so, obviously that means that are the firefighters having the ability to have staff to go in and do their inspections that they're supposed to be doing. Our local grocery store regularly takes about 15 pallets for the food, and they block the rear exit of
Mhm.
the grocery. So that's where the workers have a second exit out, and they regularly block it. So it requires the fire department to go in there and chase them to get them removed. So some of these things could be a failure of our the system that we put in place to keep everything working.
Yeah, and part of it I think is also it's kind of like the death of a thousand cuts towards regulatory agencies that we have within our governments that are supposed to keep tabs on things like this in order to make sure that they don't happen. Um, you have different types of regulatory agencies that make sure that these things are safe, and a lot of times you'll have people in politics who want to make cuts to different regulators, which I can see some regulations being like overly uh overdone, but that is typically not as much of that's like the exception rather than the rule. From what we've been seeing, especially as the country has shifted towards rightward, is that there's been more of a cutting of regulations, and some of these regulations are very vital in order for us to stay safe. So it's kind of it's like a blending of many different factors into one
Yes.
that has been causing a lot of things that have been going on.
Yeah.
I'm showing this article from the AP. It actually says thousands flee homes near North Carolina fertilizer plant fire. And this is one of those things where you have these fertilizer plants that service a lot of these either local farms, factory farms, things like that. So that also has an impact on the food production that we have within this country. So you know even things like this is like kind of secondary on the chain, but it directly affects the food that that we eat and that we process.
Mm. I
Um,
think like what I've been noticing in my grocery store is the restriction on some of the more special foods. I don't have like any, serious special diet, but I am gluten free. If I eat gluten, I get like serious like joint swelling and other issues. So
okay.
could I, if I were forced to live off gluten, it's like that would be, hopefully not. But I would enjoy the gluten-free breads and things like that. Those are limited. They're very spotty supply nowadays. So what about our elders who do need specific um foods? I think one is Similac, right? Like some of these products, are their supplies safe for
Yeah.
our people who really don't have a lot of alternatives?
Yeah.
For I don't know enough about food um, needs for people who have restrictions, but
Mm,
that's what's happening is that
yeah.
we don't know enough, and it would be really great if we actually had a government that we could rely on to approach this at a macro level and put people on it
Hmm.
and you know investigate, track, report. But
Yeah.
we already are seeing that in other vital areas, they're not doing that. They're not reporting.
Yeah. Yeah. And then a lot of times people don't think about the workers in these different instances. um One of the things that is in this article about the US egg factory, about having to basically euthanize 5.3 million chickens. They don't talk about the workers, and this. this paragraph right here is just, it actually talks about it. It says, as they gathered their huge barn houses, stacks of caged hens, the workers were told to forget about their usual routine of collecting eggs and feeding birds. Overnight, the factory had begun slaughtering more than 5 million chickens using gruesome killing method. So it's about even supervisors were assigned the arduous task of dragging hens out of the cages and to basically mitigate the spread of the virus. Um, but let me see. Yeah. So this talks about, it says workers spent nearly a month pulling dead poultry from cages and dumping them in carts before they were piled high in nearby fields and buried in huge pits. The killing was over. 250 people were thrown out of work and just a few dozen skeleton staff remaining. So it basically, a lot of these people are uh, unceremoniously just fired. Once these things happen, because of the supply and demand. When a part of me thinks, well, maybe if things were regulated a little bit better, then maybe this could have been mitigated even further, and more people could have been able to keep their jobs.
Correct.
Um,
That's the job of public
so
health, but in the even
yeah.
in the last 2 years, public health has, been demonized.
Hmm.
Regulation, by public health specialists to keep, you know, water safe, water tested, keep, all of these things is what public health is, supposed to do. It's
Hmm.
charged from like every single aspect of my public health training was
Hmm.
steeped in protecting marginalized and um, at-risk populations wherever whatever the case was. So
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
but I found for me, I left the public health field because
Mm.
it's not a place for someone who has a conscience. You are supposed to be obedient to the administration,
Mm.
and they are not looking at people who actually um, chase down problems, look into things, start trying to pull teams together to try to figure things out. That's not what they want. That is not who they're looking for.
So just to kind of put a more of a marker on what you just said, it's more of treating societal symptoms instead of trying to cure societal problems from a public health standpoint. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct. There was a
Mm.
wonderful center at University of Massachusetts called the Center for Rebuilding Sustainable Communities After Disasters, and so
Oh.
everybody there is like either an expert or a very interested person or someone who's been impacted, and they have regularly held international conferences to examine um, crises in a variety of different ways. So they did one on children and families, and that's how I got involved. It was after the Hurricane Rita and Katrina's that they did the conference, and so I came in from a perspective of just a municipal public health person, and so that was when I got involved. And then I participated in the one on Haiti and investigated in Haiti the day-to-day rollout for people with disabilities from the
Yeah.
international aid community. And
Wow.
so there's plenty of people, there's many people who want to investigate how the system runs to make sure it runs more effectively, but also have solutions to make the system sustainable
Hmm.
for people who are most in need of a good system, which almost everybody does. You have to be a very wealthy person to be able to, like, surf the public system on top of it and be able to control everything so you stay well. Most people
Hmm.
can't.
Yeah. That is, man, so many people, actually have a vested interest in to actually curing the ills, societal ills, but then it's like, you know, would it be too far for me to say the the I guess this would be the it's kind of almost like a public health industrial complex where it's
Yes.
not necessarily interested in true public health, but it's
Yes.
more like just keep the people healthy enough so that they can continue to produce. But we have to let some of these things continue under the surface because then it's good business for the pharmaceutical industry and it's good business for those of us in the hospital industry, especially those of us that want to do lucrative surgeries and things like that. So it's just like,
Well, I
I
think
don't
like the
know.
inner cabal of it, like there's a small group of people who are in on the, all of the reasoning, and then there's like, I personally was trolling the American Public Health Association. Like I was trolling them this entire. I was so frustrated
Oh,
with them because, like, I
okay.
mean, I just graduated after a long career in public health with getting a master's degree in it, so I was thinking like I am joining them. I'm joining the team. and
Yeah.
their publication is just liberalism. It's just like, oh, there's a great program on
Wow.
tobacco, and it's like, and it's
Wow.
like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Like, why are you not like completely like calling out the administration for the way, in both administrations, how they're treating, COVID? Why are you, as public health specialists, you guys are professional descendants of, of the beginnings of all the people who did the research, went into the communities, found the bad water, investigated. There's so many specialists along the way. That there was a doctor who found, and I'm terrible at, I don't know, I don't keep memories very well, so I can't name anybody. I'm not a quoter, but there was a great doctor who, um, was able to identify that it was the doctors who were not cleaning their hands, going from patient to patient, that were the inception of disease with patients. And they were able to find it because in a doctor's hospital, the patients were very ill, and in the midwife's patients, they were not. And so they were able to pinpoint what the problem was. But it took decades after that doctor said, I think it's maybe the doctor's not washing their hands. And so all of these people coming in and finding this information and bringing it to light and reporting it, all of these things, and the patients who have suffered have come
Hmm.
to, where we are now. We have all the skills we need to do everything we want to do, but they're
Hmm.
purposely getting rid of people who are ready to call out the government. They want to get rid of those type of people. They want people who are going to just follow along. And
Hmm.
so if you get people who won't be critical, then you get people who just sit and wait for suggestions as to what to cover. And they just cover things that are very mild and non-upsetting, because
Hmm.
that's not what this newsletter is supposed to do. It's not supposed to upset people. Things like
Yeah.
that. I'm a little
Yeah.
bitter.
Yeah. Look, you have to be because this system it creates us. We have to be because in order to save ourselves, we have to be bitter about it because it's hurting people.
Yeah,
Speaking of which, and this one's talking about the workers, um, and he said right now everybody's worried about the chickens. He says we get it. It's really inhumane the way they kill them. He said, but chickens are chickens, right? People work those barns pulling out dead birds in terrible conditions, feces everywhere, doing 12 to 14-hour days. Um, you know, so yeah, I mean, the way they euthanize the chickens is also a concern for animal rights, but
yeah. Well, in this
also, what
case,
about,
they weren't even euthanized. They just cooked them. They
yeah,
put up the
they,
heat and they cooked them. Whereas
yeah,
like euthanasia would suggest that there had been, something,
yeah,
which, animal rights people don't consider anywhere near sufficient. But in
mhm,
this case, that this was straight out inhumane slaughter.
yeah,
So, um, they're not known for the humanity anyway in the case, and it and which also translate how they treat workers. I mean, these workers have to have been
Mhm.
traumatized with all of the waste, you know, and
Mhm.
workers already know where this system could have done better, right? So it's very
Mhm.
frustrating to have to be part of something so radical as to destroy the lives of 5 million animals in a cruel way when they probably already saw weeks, if not months earlier, a better way to have done this in order to make it more effective. But we're told to cut corners and not solve those problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just, it has such a domino effect across the board, so much so to the point where, even the workers are affected, and then even down the line, because if corners aren't cut and actual regulations were being followed early on, this disaster could have been mitigated, and we wouldn't have, for those of us who may eat poultry or beef or something like that, there wouldn't be that big of a shortage. The prices wouldn't have gone up as much because, of course, they have to raise their price. They raise their prices because, well, there's supply and demand according to people who, basically love capitalism. And so uh, it just sucks because, you know, people, you know, end up suffering, in the end, and of course, you have animals who are treated, inhumanely in the end as well. So it's the system is sick, so much so to the point where it doesn't just affect us humans, and people need to realize that too.
Right, right. I mean, this
Yeah.
this has jump started my plans to, you know, have a community where I can go to, where we're growing our own food, we're doing our own thing. We're not
Yeah.
attached to the larger system because the larger system has never been effective, but it's clearly collapsing. So
Yeah.
I've been grateful
Mhm.
for, the few comrades that we're pulling together to go make our own community. And I hope to be able to be there to be able to be welcoming to more comrades because I just think that we need to
Mhm.
watch out for ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And from the workers' standpoint, it was one worker said after it was over, we were told to attend a meeting. We walked in. There was a big stack of yellow envelopes. This is like showing a knife to a chicken. You know what's going to happen next. We worked ourselves out of a job. I saw people who had years and years of experience just being let go. It was totally unexpected. So you have people literally losing their jobs, and the thing is that they had no idea this was going to happen. They just clocked in and went to work and did what they were supposed to do. And, upper management and the corporate people at the top, they decided to cut corners, and now look.
Yeah.
And now a lot of them, they're out of a job.
Yep.
And this also, has a domino effect to housing and healthcare. It's just
Work. Yeah. Well, healthcare, like employment tied healthcare to keep us
yeah.
tied to our jobs. Um, that's another issue with if trying to go off of this larger system. The system is really very well designed to keep us attached to it in this
Yeah.
cruel and inhuman way because yeah, sure, go off into the rural area all by yourself without a job.
Mhm.
In my looking into it, there is no alternative for your healthcare. So
Mhm.
you have to, you know, save up and hope that you have enough to solve some of the bigger issues, but
Yeah.
otherwise you go by without anything. So, um,
Yeah.
you know, the entire system is designed to have us tied to these big cities and to our jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just you know, it's just a negative impact on all of us. And so uh, this is just something to really to bring to attention to viewers, because um, there's a lot going on. And if this helps kind of spark a little bit of a desire for you to even just take some herbs and put them in front of your window so you can start growing that, and then you can grow a couple small things yourself, to try to mitigate this just in your personal life and those surrounding you. I mean, if you can do that, this is definitely igniting a fire in me to start planting some rosemary, some sage, and some thyme and stuff like that. And I mean, I have my physical limitations, of course, but maybe start doing some of this, uh, and having my family, maybe stop by to gather some of these, food items so they won't have to spend as much money, you know, because the system is really just looking to extract more money out of you, not just through your labor, but also, you know, take more money from through the food that you eat because they want to raise their prices too. So yeah, I just I'm I'm tired. I am. I really am. And look, food was a very important subject. Why? Because I like to eat. You can tell that just by looking at me.
You like to
But
cook too, right?
once in a while, when I'm not too exhausted, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I did go to culinary
I mean,
school.
yeah, you know cooking, so, like, you really know the whole
Mhm,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
Yeah.
I need to share what you posted. Uh,
I can't stop moderating.
but I love that about you. That's what's awesome. You're just you are on. Look, what? Okay, I am glad that you're in front of me right now because I just want to sing your praises just for a second
No, no, no.
because you have been just like MVP between people like you and Robin During. You
Robin's
know,
amazing.
you know, yeah, you guys have been just like MVPs that have been not even in our channels, but have been just like doing the assist in ways, and we're just like, wait, really? Oh snap! Did you see what Quaker just just posted? Or oh snap! Did you see what Quaker just commented? And then that is like that helps us, and it's just like, yo,
That's
I am
mutual
just
aid, my friend.
yeah, yes, yeah, perfect. See, you just came in with the assist again. She's like, you're like a superhero to me. So I just want to say I appreciate everything that you do because um we are part of a community, and sometimes there are some days where I'm just like I don't understand how I can do it without you. So I just from the top and bottom of my heart I want to thank you.
Yeah, I
So
appreciate you guys very, very much. I think that,
yeah.
from, from someone who, like, you know, sees the failed system and doesn't know what to do, and then sees, James coming on, forehead kissing everybody, calling everybody out, bringing everybody in.
Yeah.
You're bringing us all together and making this environment happen. And I think
Mhm.
it's amazing to have you, and you bring something very special to us. So if
Thank
there's
you.
any little thing that can be done to be a part of that, and I think that's what, you all have been very inviting for that. You haven't been like, um, trying to push it down or negating it. So that gets us excited to support because we're just like, oh, they really like they're gonna look at it. That's super cool.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to be like the ruling information. It's just supposed to contribute. So just want to contribute. So,
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I appreciate it so much because it's really collectivist action, you know?
right.
Like yeah, you guys see my, you know,
James is the face of
rotund
us.
my rotund mug here, but it's not just me. It's so many people who also, help me to disseminate this information. I'm basically, look, I am no more impressive than a bullhorn, right? There are people who are behind me that I just got a loud mouth. you know, it's like the people who are also helping me, they are the ones who are really the strength and the power behind it. And so I
Plus your
just,
networking. I mean, your panels are stellar. So
oh, thank you.
when you pull people together, the conversation is going to be really important,
Yeah.
and that is what, if you don't have the conversation, then having the skills to do something will get you down the wrong road. So you orient the skills to the right direction
Yeah.
is what
Yeah.
is important, because like so many ways in public health they would say, well, create our emergency system, and then once we're all finished and it's all buttoned down and we got everything, then we'll talk about people with disabilities. And that's the wrong way to do it, right? So if we
Yeah.
have the conversation through the leadership of our community with disabilities, through our Black community, then we know
Mhm.
that we're going to orient the entire system to be the most effective. So I think that's why you pulling your panels together are critical, because
Yeah.
or you're reorienting where everybody needs to focus their attention. For me, I don't
Mhm.
find that there's any liberation for me at all if I am not behind the liberation of all of my other comrades, my comrades, my fellow people with disabilities. Like, the liberation has to be the correct way.
Yeah.
So you know,
No, absolutely right. And I just want to give uh, a shout out to Angela because what you just said right here is stellar. Angela says, "I wish I could donate, but I can't. I have zero money. But
yeah,
what I can do is fire up my community and get the community gardens going that where we used to
exactly.
be quite a few. So
Yeah.
basically, you're using your voice, you're using your network ability. It doesn't
That's
have to always
1,000%
be,
more than money. Money is nothing, honestly.
yeah.
Money is nothing. I was arguing on Twitter yesterday because someone says, "Well, no, mutual aid is money," and everybody knows, like, at least my argument is that no, mutual aid is 99.9% not money.
Mhm.
It's the talking, it's the conversations, it's the caring, it's the forehead kisses. Like, seriously, all of these things are really, 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 really,
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
important. And also, just as an
Yeah.
aside, a lot of us radicals who are obnoxious are getting throttled very seriously. So the retweeting people who are throttled is critical to help spread the news. So obviously, like, revolutionary blackout is getting more throttled. You know that.
Mhm.
I mean, James, you have thousands of people who follow you, and you just, congratulations to your 1,000 subscribers, but you should be a big account. um I don't know if my TV is slow, or
Thank you.
yeah. But like, so that's, I was thinking about that, like, I shout out the shows, but I will get one like, or two likes for these big shows. So we know that they're being suppressed. You can't be, so for anyone who has the capacity to retweet, that's really
Mhm.
important, or to post in any of your wherever you are, in your social media or in your conversations with real people, like letting them know that there are alternatives. That's really important.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's something that I hope that a lot of the people who are watching take that away from what Quaker just said. Um, your mutual aid doesn't always have to be even physical, right? It could be, gosh, if people just realize what a kind message and a kind word just does for somebody, or sending them, a message on Instagram about puppies and kittens. Something, I don't know, something that makes them laugh, something that makes them feel good. Sometimes it's just affecting somebody's heart in a positive way. We may not have all the money, but do you have a kind word to share?
Yeah.
Do you have an inspiring story to share? Is something that, do you have, I don't know, you got a couple of cups of applesauce in your house that that you can share? Whatever, spending time, talking to somebody who may be having a depressive episode.
Yeah.
Whatever you can do. Ultimately, it's about building actual community and treating the world as if it's one tribe.
Yep. Yep.
I think individualism and capitalism and white supremacy have forced us to deviate from what makes us humanity as a collective,
Yeah.
right?
By design, because I mean, I'm raised by anarchists. We didn't use money for most things.
Mhm.
You know, I never would have thought of it, but it's like, yeah, I leached off a lot of cousins. Like I don't think any of my clothes was new because I always had cousins. We were so many cousins that all my clothes were from somebody else. And I never even thought of it as, except for my shoes, because I was really very envious of my older sister's shoes. But I always was like, I got Kathy's shirt. That's the coolest thing ever. Like I was just like excited to get so and so's piece of clothing. I was always excited about it. So, yeah, Dolly Parton's, song about her coat. Um,
Mhm.
can you sing the song? I don't even know the song. What's Dolly Parton's song about the coat? Her famous song. I grew up with it. What is
I
that song?
the only one I know is 9 to 5.
9 to 5. No, she has a song about her mother creating a coat of many colors um from old fabric, and then she's really been able to make that into a multi-billion-dollar industry because she has like a movie a movie on that coat. She's probably has an entire theme park just on that coat. But it's a really nice thought because it's basically the fabric from many other um, shirts and coats and pants cut
Mm.
to create the youngest child's coat, and she was so proud of it, and she went to school, and the kids laughed at her for being so poor, and she was like, what, this is great, like all of the pieces here have a story, the pulling it together is a beautiful story. So yeah.
That is beautiful, actually.
Yeah, I'll send
Um,
it to you if you haven't heard. I'm
yeah.
sure you'll have heard the song once, because you're in Florida, you had to have heard a Dolly Parton song.
Well, I mean, technically, I used to be her employee, so
Really? Really?
actually, yeah, I used to work at a place called Dolly Parton's Dixie Stampede. It
Oh,
was a
oh,
dinner
real
show.
oh, I've even read about them.
Yeah.
'Cause they changed how they, do things.
Yeah.
'Cause it was very, very, Confederate based.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a friendly competition between the North and the South. I'm just like, oh my God, are you guys kidding me? Like when I look back on it now, I'm like, why in the world did I work in that
We have
place?
like a rodeo of Confederate and Union. people.
Yeah, it would be that, and they basically took the Civil War and kind of transformed it into like, oh, it's just a friendly competition between, you know, people who want to own slaves and people who wanted to free the slaves. That's all it really is. It's like, really? Like, and I'm like, I used to work for these people. Come on, like JB, come
They've
on,
whitewashed
man.
it now. It's all fine.
Yeah, it's like it's all whitewashed. And the funny part is they used to have what they called like the bells, and they'd be like, women in this like Southern belle type of dress. Never saw a black one. You didn't see a black one out there. And so I'm like, you wonder why, The only time you saw black people was the servers. And then the funny part is the servers had to dress up like they were the soldiers. So if you were on the South Side and you were black and you were a server, dressed
You're
up like a
kidding.
Confederate soldier. Yes. Oh my God. Oh my Lord. Look,
The layers of trauma. Oh
layers
my
of trauma.
God. I can't imagine these workers' parents going, "Oh my God. Don't be late. Don't be late to work, kid."
And I just, oh, that I can't believe, like, when I'm thinking about it now. Look, when you move to the left and you start to think about these things, you're like, what did I do?
Right? Yeah, that's
Oh
exactly it. That's exactly. I've
gosh.
always been thinking about like like so some of the like new voices that I'm learning from,
Hmm.
like Kalanji, Changa and Kamal Franklin,
Hmm.
Jackie Lukeman. Like I feel like they've gone through these doors, and once you're through that door, you're able to argue things so well because you just know the orientation of things, right? And so like I'm able, once I know that there's worker rights, right? And like
Hmm.
I don't need to be smart. I just know this, like, wait, no, this doesn't make sense because the workers in the situation are going to be, um, poorly treated. That's the doors I want to go through. I want to be through all of the doors so that I don't have to be smart because I'm not. I just want to be like, well, I know the correct orientation. So that's why, like, I feel like getting to learn Claudia Jones and getting to know the work, the teachings and the work of Thomas Sankara, like all of them, because it gets me, I hope, through the doors so that I don't have to be smart. I just know like what is right and what is wrong, and like and how to get us to the correct place the fastest without us like
Hmm.
having to like wear, is it a gray, right? It's a gray uniform in the in the rodeo. Like all of these things, you're just like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I will say I did listen to the series that was about, it was a podcast series on Dolly Parton. It was very interesting. And that was where I learned about these the
Yeah.
rodeos.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
everything about Dolly. It was like a 10-part series. Very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I mean, from what I've learned about her is that she's willing to grow, and she's not one of those people who is like, well, this is how I feel, and I'm gonna stick right to it, and that's whatever, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
From what I learned about her, she's a fairly, I don't want to use this word because it's been co-opted so much, but I'm trying to use this in the actual terminology. She's kind of progressive in the way she is. She
I
may
think
not be
she's
where
through
we're
one of
at.
these doors though. I think she's in one of the rooms that we've been through. Like I don't think she's sitting there and listening to mainstream media. She's not consuming all of
Yeah.
the corporate dog, information. So so because like she was like not going to have any of it when like Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin on one of those award shows wanted to go all politic, and she was like, I'm not joining in on your politics. And that's, people got really offended. They're like, well, maybe Dolly isn't as righteous as she should be. It's like, well, no, she probably is able to see BS from the liberal perspective, where like, so I think like Dolly, you know I was a little bit miffed that, like, I'm like, well, maybe Dolly doesn't have her things straight. And then, but then I'm now that I've like even gone further, and then I watched the Lily Tomlin and great Jane Fonda latest series.
Hmm.
I'm not saying it right. The last season of their TV show, which is
Grace
called
and
Grace.
Frankie.
Yeah. And
Okay.
in the beginning, I thought it was funny because God, I loved Lily Tomlin growing up. I loved her so much, and my dad would mention, Jane Fonda standing for the right side of war, right? So at some
Hmm.
point in history, they'd been right. But if you
Hmm.
see their show, like every single one of their characters are on the wrong side of worker rights. They talk about like slavery and things like in like wrong ways. Like the latest season was about them probably very wrongly treating a worker. And I think they're trying to make it as like a joke, but I don't think it doesn't come off that way to their audience. It might be for
Mm.
someone like me going, well, obviously that's like awful. But when Rob Reiner watches them, I'm sure he's like, "Well, I guess I should probably, wanna
Rob Reiner.
right?" Like, they all are not in the right room with they're, like, feeding at the trough of Democrat news, so, anyway.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Don't get me started on Rob Reiner or
Yeah.
gosh, what's his name? Mr. Oh my. Um, George Takei.
Yeah, I had
Don't
to,
get
like,
me started.
block him. I blocked him, like, in
Oh my
2020
god.
because I was just like, "Yeah, you have bad takes."
Like
Like, they
like it's like George Takei, you literally were an actor on a show that was basically about space communism.
with Lieutenant Uhuru.
You were Sulu, and you mean to tell me that you're looking at the neoliberals like they're heroes? Okay, all right. So yeah, my gosh, I am just I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, I'm quickly trying to find if I can find it because I follow this. I live off of the uh pod of YouTube, and I'll never pay for it. Really enjoy it. So there's this really great channel called Cool Classics, and
Mm,
the guy he regularly talks about, not regularly, but he drops in a few times how he's trying to work on his mental health and living through experiences of trauma. And so when he's watching old fashioned TV shows, he likes to look things up, which is what I do. Like, I'm like, if I'm watching Star Trek, I'm immediately looking up the characters and the actors. And so he
hmm.
makes little 20-minute stories about each of these people, including like the original TV show, the Batman. So he's probably
Mm,
about my age. And so he's doing all of my favorite shows, the Munsters, Batman, everything. And so I dropped in the episode just in our personal chat about um, um, Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhuru, and he did a whole life story about her. And wow, I always thought she was cool, but now I know she's like even 10 times more cool because she was in an amazing band for years, and she just was incredibly talented.
hmm.
And yeah, her recent years have been challenging, and so it was a very
Mm,
interesting show. But
hmm.
I just because you mentioned Star Trek, then I have to go down at least one rabbit hole if you mention Star Trek.
Look, that's what we geeks do. that we
right?
got to do it. We got to do it that way. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
You ever
Because
watched Voyager?
no, actually, I never sat down and watched a Star Trek show.
Wait, are
I've
you a geek
seen.
or what?
Well, okay, it depends on because you can be geeks in different ways. Oh, Quaker, come on! Don't take my geek card away.
Okay, where's your geek card stamped?
Okay,
I clearly got my geek card
okay.
stamped somewhere else.
Okay. So
I'm old though. I'm a lot older than you.
I like to assimilate myself at least around geeks. I'm a surface level geek. I'm not deep, but
You're a geek of all
I'm
trades.
trying.
You're a geek
I'm
of all trades.
trying.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. Thank you.
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I'm trying.
You
So
dabble
please
in
don't.
all the geekness.
Yeah,
You have no judgment against each individual geek. You're like, no, no, no. All geeks are
yeah,
good.
yeah. But please don't take my geek card away,
No, 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 because
please.
I've seen you multiple times. You pull that out, and your analogies. Your analogies are always
Hmm.
very well rooted in geekdom. So
Thank you.
you
Thank you. I
you
try.
speak for it very well. I
Thank
will
you.
say. All of your
I,
analogies are like really honestly, I hope you like or maybe it would probably be better for one of us to like go back in the catalog of James's shows and document all of your analogies and make it into a book. So each page would be a different analogy. They're good. They're gold.
Thank you so much. I feel like you were just a prospector searching for all my good qualities, and you found this tiny little gold
No,
nugget.
those
And
are
I'm just
good. Ask the chat. Look at the chat. Tell the chat. The chats know. Like
like,
your stories will sum it up, and you're able to take an analogy
Mhm.
when you are in any mood. When you are in righteous anger, you can pull out an amazing analogy that just,
Thank
torches
you.
the
Thank you.
oligarchy. And I'm like, how does he do that? Because when I get really that mad, I just start sputtering, and you're like, no, 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 no. So
I have a wild imagination.
it's really good, honestly, because like you're able to like sum things up for people
Mhm,
who may not be familiar with it coming from the perspective of your guest. And
mhm.
so when you put it in your perspective, it becomes very universal.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for
Yeah, Claudia
acknowledging that.
Jones did that for me for Marxism because I don't know any theory. I was just raised in the culture of anarchism, um, in the same sense that like many people, and I'm not Christian, but like people who are Christian just are because they just live in the community, but they don't like know anything, right? They just do it, and I'm that kind of an anarchist, and so like when I come up against anybody who's like, "Well, tell me the theory," I'm like, "Oh, I know nothing.
Oh
I know nothing."
no.
Um, so yeah,
But
but so you're able to tell the story in a way that allows people to connect it properly. So
mhm. Thank you so much. Yeah, yeah. I hope we can connect something because this what we're going through just can't cut it. We gotta
well, how many
go.
followers does our RBN have? When you're saying maybe we connecting to somebody, I mean, you guys have like thousands and thousands of people. So
As far as subscribers, yeah, we definitely do. And growing. Um,
the latest
it's been a
summit,
wild
the
it's been a
summit was
wild
great.
ride.
The summit
Yeah, yeah,
was a big hit. The anti-imperialist summit, big
yeah,
hit.
yeah. It was the brainchild of Josana and Nick,
Yeah.
and it was a great idea because it was just taking activists and advocates from around the world, and then bringing them in to talk about, imperialism and activism and things like that, which I think was a great idea. Um, and so I have to sing the praises of Josana and Nick for
Yeah,
this one
yeah.
because that was
I
a
watched
great
all of
idea.
Dasana's, and for her to
Mhm,
moderate, I'm sorry, for
mhm,
her to like facilitate and host in a
mhm,
bilingual session, um,
mhm.
with
Yeah,
like impassioned speakers. It was great.
yeah, yeah. And then the General Strike Summit was actually the brainchild of CJ.
Right.
So that was a great idea of his. And then I am coming up with something. I'm not going to announce it yet, but I'm
Yes.
coming up with something. And there's something that me and Josana is working on. So stay tuned for that because it's gonna be interesting conversation. It's not going to be as long as the summits that we've had in the past, um, but it's going to be something I think is necessary to talk about. So if people stay tuned, we'll be able to have that conversation. I hope that people tune in and give it a listen, and especially the people who may not be privy to the type of things that some of us go through. So yeah,
Um,
I no, Yipper, I'm not telling you, not yet. It's not time. The look, the
I
cake
put an
has not
idea in the
baked yet.
chat for us.
Hang
I have to look.
on. That's a good idea. That's a good idea. I love the way you think, Quaker.
I'll do Sharif,
Look, look.
or
Oh,
does he?
oh, oh. Look, y'all. Look, Quaker. If you ever get your own streaming platform, channel, or if you ever start writing articles or something like that, let me know so I can share your stuff. Because that was,
Sweet.
because
That is sweet.
look, she came up with some good ideas. So yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nice.
I'll get with that person and we'll set something up because I've been meaning also to have more conversations with this person because this person is also very brilliant, very smart, very chill, very cool. No, Steven, I'm not telling y'all. This is between me and Quaker. Y'all just are flies on the wall right now, but
Gonna be
we we,
good.
we, we we signed to each other just so that we can kind of collaborate things. You know what I'm saying? This is mutual aid going on right now.
Yeah, I think
Oh
I
man.
mean, I did notice, I don't know if people saw, you changed the description of the Revolutionary Blackout to include the summits. I don't know when that happened because I never look at like the bio, but
Mhm,
I think that's a brand,
mhm.
because you guys are able to bring in some people for your summits.
Yeah,
You've made your name in that. So
yeah, yeah. It's just we one of the things I think about the left, and I'm just going to keep it short because I'm going
you
to be
want to
going
wrap
in a
up.
sec. Yeah, but one of the things I think that is integral to us disseminating the information out more is that we do a massive cross pollination of those of us on the left. And by left, I mean people who are anti imperialist and anti capitalist who are uh, coming together and not only being in community with one another, but using each other's platforms to, put this information out there. And it's like I said I think I said it on Indie Left last night because I was the guest on Friends with Indie Left. I think I said it on his, or wasn't on my 1,000 subscriber celebration. I can't remember. But one thing I said was somebody can tune in to the left indie media space, right? And they may come across maybe a Franco, or they may come across a Savvy Sabs, or they may come across the Bank Sisters, or they may come across maybe like a Robert Durden or a Savage Joy, right? And they may hear what they're saying, they'd be like, oh, okay, I kind of get what the person's saying, and it works. But then they may come across me and they may identify with me a little bit more, and they're able to take in that information a little bit better.
Right.
Or they may be listening to me and say, man, that guy, he's too loud, he's just too much. And they need somebody who may be a little bit more chill, a little bit more calm, and so they may subscribe to somebody like Nick, and they'd be like, you know what? This guy's more my speed, and I actually like, and I can actually identify with him a little bit more. And so that's what we're here for, is every single person, we all have our duty to appeal to, a subset of people who would, not otherwise listen to some other members of us, but then they listen to those of us others and they're like, oh, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah. Because you
I
have
think that
to have your mind cracked open in order to let it allow for some more information in there, and so each of you are able to reach different people.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I forgot to go to Polyface Farms that you were talking about.
Yep. It looks
Oh, let
good.
me
Yeah, I put it in
yeah,
the
let me
chat. Is that what you just saw? You saw
yeah,
the
yeah. I
yeah,
completely forgot. I
yeah.
look, I am
I
my
also
brain
wanna,
is
like, mention
scattered.
because, like, there's Polyface Farms, there's also, I'm looking for it now. So there's also the Federation of
Mhm,
Southern Cooperatives and Land Assistance Fund, which
mhm,
is it's a membership organization for Black
mhm,
farmers and Black owned cooperatives in the
mhm,
South East United States.
mhm,
Um, and so they're also a place for people to look at. They're in Florida, Louisiana, South Carolina, Texas, Mississippi, Georgia,
mhm.
Alabama, um, and then also, so there's lots of things like if you wanted to do even a food summit, um,
Mhm.
um,
Oh,
so
don't get me started with
there's
the
lots of
food summit.
resources, right? Yeah,
If you get me started with a food summit,
food safety, like
I'll be there.
right? Like how to
Yeah.
grow. So that's what like Camp Data is going to try to do this September, which is we want to there's a lot of things going on, such as Gahila Theater or the Theater of the Oppressed. There's
Mhm,
also we're going to have like my kid's dad who's from Nepal, he's a subsistent farmer, so he's going to talk about
mm,
like
mhm,
growing from the perspective of subsistence. And then
mhm,
there's going to be other farmers there. We hope they have to make their farming. It's September is a tough time for farmers to come get away from the farm, but to talk about
mhm,
um, growing food in apartments, growing guerrilla gardening in cities, just
mhm.
plant stuff everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. So
Lots of fun.
definitely.
Anyway,
Yeah, I'm gonna check this Polyface Farms out because
yeah.
this sounds really interesting too. Um, I mean, anything to do with food, we should be interested because that's what helps keep us alive. So, oh
Um,
man, thank
I'm
you.
dropping in
Hmm.
the spreadsheet for food plant disasters. That's in the chat as well as
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah,
Perfect. So you also put that up there too. Okay, perfect.
and then
Man.
and this is the original tweet that I sent. The original tweet.
Mhm.
That's tied to Paul's tweet. That so I didn't come up with the reporting of it. I just looked up all the links and then created a spreadsheet of it, and then have added sense to it. Um, that's all
Okay.
that spreadsheet is. So the tweet that I shared in the chat
Mhm.
is the original people who were reporting. So I don't know who did that original graphic and things like that. I didn't. I'm, I'm not
Okay.
that kind of comrade, I guess. I should know the sources. And it's like, no, I just took the information and ran with it. So anyway, but thanks very
That's
much for
good.
including me today. I appreciate it. I
Yeah.
appreciate your channel. Appreciate you.
Mhm.
So glad to
Mhm.
be here.
Thank you so much. I look. I appreciate you coming on. It is an honor and a privilege to have you on, because believe it or not, I'm a fan of yours. So,
Look at us fanning.
so yeah, yeah, yeah. We fan each other.
Yeah.
So
I think I sent you like
yeah.
three more
So,
things on Instagram. So
ooh, I'm gonna look at it later.
yeah.
All
Pet
right.
things.
If it, yep. If it's fluffy and has 4 legs, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Instagram knows my number.
yeah.
Getting
I
on
get
to it.
recommended a lot of stuff like that too now. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
great.
It's
I
okay.
get
I mean, like
recommended.
we're all trying to fight despair. So it's like if they're like, here's more kittens, I'm like, bring it. Bring the
Yeah.
more kittens.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and by the way, people in the chat, if y'all got a cute like puppy video or kitten video, send them my way. Tag me, whatever. Do what you got to do because I like that
You
stuff.
do
All
you
right.
oh did you follow? I know you want to leave. So do you remember Slender Sherbet? So he's the one that has the funny um Twitter, and I tag you every once in a while. So his name is Paul Bronx, and he has a closed account on Instagram, but you can follow it, and then but he doesn't let you share it just randomly, because he gets into trouble, because people don't like the fact that he swears. He says the F word.
Uh,
Um, and so
oh,
people complain about him, and he's like, it's my Twitter account, leave me alone." And then also people complain how he shares animal videos because like he'll put an animal that swears or something like that. So he locked his account. But if you want to follow him on
oh,
Instagram or on Twitter, he's hilarious, and he sends out one funny animal tweet a day. And then in between that, he is an animal rights activist. So he tries to raise
okay.
funds for um, rescuing animals who have been abused.
Okay. I'm going to have to take a look at that because um, I can't click on links.
I put it in the chat.
Uh, yeah, I'm trying to go to the chat now because I can't do it through StreamYard because it doesn't
Oh,
create a
really?
hyperlink.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's StreamYard for you. Yeah, but I can do it.
so if I put it in the StreamYard chat,
Actually, I got it now.
mm,
I went into I went into the chat on YouTube, so
oh,
I got it. Yeah, yeah, I got it. Thank you.
yeah.
Um, so
So
yeah,
he
so
has an
I
old channel and a new channel. Oh, so I actually I should so I shared the wrong one. Where do you want me to share it? In the StreamYard?
yeah, if you could do that, that'd be
So
great.
his new account is Slender Sherbet, no
Mm-hmm.
underscore. So it's just so he lost his account because people were attacking him. And so he lost his
People are
main
people.
account and then he made a second account. And so now he's back on his original account. So anyway,
Man, people suck.
he's medicine. He's medicine.
Oh, oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I'm gonna look at this, especially at times where I'm feeling a little down.
He's
This will
hilarious.
pick me right. This will pick me right up.
Hilarious. He's hilarious. Um,
That's funny.
and you either need to be an adult or you have to be emotionally, able to, because he uses the F word and he can be um, a little silly.
I'm seeing it. Okay, okay. I
Yeah.
I subscribe. I follow. I'm I'm gonna be good for the rest of the week.
Yeah.
All right.
He even repeats occasionally. I don't mind because they're hilarious. So anyway,
Hey, sometimes we watch the same funny thing over and over and keep getting a laugh out of it. It's all good with me.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, Quaker, it was so good to have you.
yeah, nice to chat with
Yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
You can
I
always
can't.
call me. I'm usually just here.
Yep, yep. I definitely. Oh, I gotta have you on my channel. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna set that up, and
Awesome.
we'll have a conversation on my
Yay.
channel. Yeah, we're gonna get that soon. So uh, we got it. We know how to get in contact with each other.
We
So
do. Let me
yeah.
know if that idea wants to have any help.
Oh yeah. Oh. I'm DMing that person. We're gonna DM and we're gonna plan something. Oh, definitely. Oh, I can't wait. It's gonna be oh, and I have a few people in mind that I also want to include on it too. Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yep.
could be international. It could be just United States.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I definitely want to plan something like that. So yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it. And I just to let you guys know, Quaker has her handle for Twitter in there. Is there anything that you would like to plug? Anything that you would like to talk about right before you go?
No, I put in the chat camp data, and so we if you can help spread that around,
Hmm.
that's super great. We are also collecting camp data, um, um, goods in kind as well. So if people have tents or people have
Hmm.
skills, we're also doing that. So
Hmm.
there's lots coming down the road for that as well. So. And if
Hmm.
you could retweet my stuff, like I'm literally being throttled, and
Okay.
so
I got you.
I'm usually retweeting the genocide of the indigenous people in Brazil, or our Marxist Black revolutionaries from
Hmm.
either like Black Power Media, or like I'm usually just trying to boost others. So if
Hmm.
we could have that what the leftists do, where someone shouts and then someone shouts and then someone shouts.
Hmm.
We should do that. Like really be retweeting people's, especially if they're throttled. Lee
Yeah.
Camp, and those folks who are saying raw truth. Please retweet them even more.
Yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
That's it.
Thank, thank you so much for being here. Thank you to everyone for joining us today. This is kind of an abbreviated version of the JB show, but I just want to thank all of you for being here. And look, like I always say, basically, water your plants, water yourselves, leave the world better than you found it. And forehead kisses.
Yay!
Yeah. I love you. Mwah!
Mwah!
I love you. Love you all. You all are great. Oh, by the way, before I go, just to let you guys, if you're still listening, thanks to Laura Beza for the tip on Rockfin as well. Thank you, everyone, for watching on Rockfin. I always miss out on that. I feel like a deadbeat dad. I shouldn't do that. But I love all y'all anyway. Take care. Forehead kisses. Is it